Let's talk about the governor's race. It is on a lot of people's minds right now because it is one of the only two governor's races in the country. You've got a really fantastic candidate, of course, in Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill. What are constituents? What are you hearing around the state that people are looking for in the next governor?
So I think it is a close race. There were early polls that had this race 20 points, 13 points. That's not what this race is. A lot of this is driven beyond the candidates. We have, a lot of people look to the historical trends. One historical trend that favors the Democratic candidate is that, the governor's race goes opposite that of the party in power in Washington. I'm more intrigued by the trend that we as Democrats are going to have to battle, which is that New Jersey really hasn't, in decades, had a party get elected or a candidate from the same party get elected more than 2 terms in a row.
Hmm.
So, when I think back and, as a young person, one-term Byrne, who got elected to his second term, who was followed by Governor Kane, a Republican, who was followed by Governor Florio, a Democrat, who was followed, by Governor Whitman, a Republican, who was followed by Governor McGreevey and Governor Corzine, Democrats, who was then followed by Governor Christie. You kind of see the trend, right?
Yeah,
And
interesting.
that's the uphill battle that we're going to have to overcome. I don't think it's a 50-50 split, but I do think it's a 4 to 5 point race, which means everyone is going to have to work hard at turnout. We here in New Jersey in the Democratic Party, we are very skilled at getting out our vote. We have worked very hard to build a responsible, ethical, vote by mail program that is really, I think, one of the finest in the country. And the reality is we need to do that in order to guarantee that people who are entitled to vote have the right to vote and can have their vote heard. So we've done that very effectively. I think that could be a differentiator in this race. That is the trend that we have to buck, that constant turnover from one party to the next in the gubernatorial race. And that has happened in spite of the last 25 years, the legislature being under Democratic control. And I think some voters look at that as the balance. Let's try the other party. We have a check and balance here on the legislative side. But I just think people have to be reminded of what happened. The Republican candidate, Jack Ciattarelli, served with me in the state legislature. I like Jack, worked on programs with Jack. But Jack was here with Governor Christie, and Jack did not stand up when Governor Christie, preached about pension reform, but then never funded it. Jack didn't stand up to Governor Christie when they raided surplus accounts of our school districts, hundreds of thousands of dollars out of each school district that hit property taxpayers. He didn't stand up to the governor or stand with us to override the governor when they canceled property tax rebate programs that made New Jersey affordable for people. He also didn't stand up to the governor when he vetoed legislation that was impactful on gun violence prevention. I was very proud to work on magazine capacity legislation, red flag laws, and others, really working with the families from the tragedy out of Sandy Hook and how important that was. And, the reality is Governor Christie vetoed much of that legislation, and elections matter. Governor Murphy signed them in his first days in office. So people need to understand what they're signing up for. And we've obviously had a change in decisions at the Supreme Court that affect gun violence prevention and people's ability to carry weapons. We're seeing the impact day to day from tragedies across the political spectrum, and it's scary. So these elections do matter, and how people act and how they move forward with these issues are critically important.